Hey there folks, Rel here. Today we'll be taking a look at the Lancer, which is a heavy assault tool for the Vanu Sovereign. This weapon has been out for a while now, but still has some issues that need to be worked out. It's a very capable alternative to the standard launchers, mostly due to its projectile velocity, but it isn't the greatest option for killing enemies at short range. We'll take a look at the specific stats and quirks of the Lancer first, and then give you some general strategy to make it effective in your hands. The Lancer costs 1000 certs or 700 station cash to unlock, and it fills up the heavy assault tool slot, so it's going to replace your standard launcher. It fires a quick moving projectile that has no bullet drop, and after you fire a projectile it's going to leave behind a bright tracer that will point enemies to your position for the next couple of seconds. Even though there is a small explosion on impact, the weapon actually has no splash damage at all. You have to hit the enemy directly. It has a 6-round magazine with 18 rounds in reserve, but if you use a munitions pouch, it's going to give you another 6 rounds per rank of your munitions pouch. While the Lancer has a decent firing speed at 200 rounds per minute, the main benefit of this weapon is the charge-up mechanic. The Lancer can charge up to 3 levels, and it is supposed to retain its maximum charge for up to 5 seconds. Right now it doesn't, it retains it for about 2 seconds, so that's a bug that will hopefully be worked out soon. Each level of charge consumes additional ammo, so you can fire off 2 fully charged Lancer rounds per magazine. It also increases the speed of the projectile per level. At charge 1 it's 600 meters per second, at charge 2 it's 700, and at charge 3 it's 800 meters per second. To give you a comparison, the highest projectile speed sniper rifle fires a round that travels at 650 meters per second. From a damage perspective, the first level of the charge is the same as if you didn't charge the weapon at all, and it's going to do 150 damage. The second level deals 375 damage, and the third stage will charge up to 750 damage. Before we go into a more specific damage breakdown, I'd like to mention that this weapon does not have amazing accuracy while hip firing, so don't even think about using it from anywhere unless you're aiming down sights. Also, the weapon becomes less accurate when firing quickly, just like any other weapon, and it's noticeable, but it's not extreme, so it's not a huge issue to worry about. And lastly, it has a 4-second short reload and a 5-second long reload.
Hostile in the air.
For the specific damage numbers, I'm just going to show you a few displays. I'm going to put them up on the screen, and it's going to tell you what it takes to kill each enemy type at different charge levels. So feel free to pause the video if you need time to read through them. Also, most of the vehicle damage numbers come directly from the damage simulator, which you can find at ps2calc.com. That's ps2calc.com. So those are the specifics of the weapon. Now let's move on to some more general strategy. The biggest downside of the Lancer is that it does not have a scope, and is generally a tool meant to be hitting things at great ranges, so the first thing that I'm going to suggest anyone do, just like we did for the anti-vehicle turret, is bind a sensitivity clutch to your mouse. Now it won't always be necessary, but as an example, if there is just a teeny little piece of a tank or a sunderer sticking out from behind cover from a long ways away, you need to be very precise. So what a sensitivity clutch is going to do is allow you to hold down a button on your gaming mouse if you have one and slow down your sensitivity. In the video description there's a picture that I put together to show you how to bind a sensitivity clutch for the Razer Diamondback, but you can probably find instructions online to do this with other gaming mouse as well. Now that that's out of the way, the next and probably most important part of the Lancer is to begin with burst. A downside to offset the ridiculous projectile speed and accuracy of the Lancer is that it does not deal as much damage as the other launchers, even with a full charge up. So what this means for you is that after enemies take that first hit, they're going to say, oh, I'm taking damage, I should probably move, and then they're going to move away. And because of this, you want to inflict the biggest amount of damage you can right from the start. And then after you fire off that first shot, so that 3-stage charge, you need to assess if the target is going to start moving or not. If it's a deployed sunderer, it's going to stay right there, at least for a while. And that means that you're going to have time to charge up another shot to level 3. But for other targets, most targets, what you want to do after the initial Level 3 charge up is to just rail off those last 3 shots to inflict as much damage on the enemy as you can before they go behind cover. And this leads me to the next thing. Try to coordinate attacks with squad mates. Lancers are decent when used by yourself, but utterly amazing when used as a group, because they do have pinpoint accuracy and the enemy gets no lock-on warning, and unlike the Phoenix, the enemy won't be able to hear your shots coming for them either. So if you have a small squad of Lancers, all you need to do is coordinate the level 3 charge-ups, and enemies will die before they even get a chance to react. Enemies will know where the shots came from though, as long as they are within a render distance of you, they'll be able to see the beam trails. But if you're defending a tower or another high point, there's not a whole lot that they can actually do to counter you either way. I do want to emphasize that render range thing again, because I'm not a huge fan of abusing things like this, but it's how the game currently functions, and there isn't a whole lot that SOE can really do to stop it, as I understand. This is why AV turrets, Phoenix users, Lance users, Burster Maxes, and infantry with lock-on launchers can all sit outside of render range, just obliterating enemy vehicles without them even knowing what's hitting them. It's sad, but if you're in a very large-scale fight and you're sitting a long ways away, you can rest easy knowing that the enemy you're hitting will likely not know where the shots are coming from. But when in doubt, single shot. Rapidly firing single shots does technically have higher DPS than your charge-ups, just because of the length that it takes to charge up the weapon. And it's also better to do partial damage to a target than no damage at all, at least when it comes to ESFs, or especially when it comes to ESFs. Landing a 3-shot charge on an ESF is nice, but unless you're really good at predicting enemy movement, you'll end up wasting not only your ammo, but also the time you spent charging. When dealing with airborne enemies that aren't sitting ducks, don't worry about the charge-up mechanic and just use your single shots. ESFs take a lot of damage from the Lancer, so even partial damage is useful enough to deter them at the very least. Cancel your charges when there's no shots to take. Now, the current charge-up mechanic allows you to sustain maximum charge for only 2 seconds, and even when this gets fixed, that'll be nice, but a lot of the times your enemy will have gone behind cover, or you'll find that you need to run away from enemies that are shooting at you, and that sort of thing. And if that's the case, then you can cancel your charge by swapping weapons or hitting the reload, if you don't have a full magazine already. And it's not the most elegant solution for avoiding that charge-up mechanic, but that's how it works. Overall, the Lancer is a great tool for dealing with enemy vehicles over long range thanks to that fast projectile speed and pinpoint accuracy. And it may not deal quite as much damage as other launchers, but it can be used in a squad much more effectively than them. In close range situations where you need a quick burst of damage, you're better off using your primary weapon than trying to make the Lancer work for you. But when you want to snipe enemy aircraft or vehicles fleeing the battlefield, the Lancer is a great tool to have at your side. If this video has been interesting, helpful, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, and tell your friends about the channel. And if you have any footage of the Lancer in action, or if you have some useful information to share, just leave a comment or a video response below. Thanks very much, folks. Rel signing off.